today's video, I'm going to show you a simple approach to painting non-metallic gold and the paints I used for this Custodes miniature. The hardest part to painting non-metallic metal, or NMM for short, is not applying the paint or what paint to use, but getting an impression of how the light is going to react to the metal and creating an impression of it with matte colors. Most materials can be painted with a zenithal lighting approach, meaning that light comes from a midday sun and therefore surfaces facing up will be light and surfaces facing down will be dark, and everything else transitioning between. The problem with metallic surfaces, however, is they very easily reflect light from unexpected directions and create very sudden contrasts with slightest change of shape or direction. But do not fret. Having this initial understanding will actually help you to take NMM more lightly than you might have expected. Don't put too much thought into the direction of the light and focus on painting with contrast. The changes from light to dark and back to light across metallic surfaces can be quite sudden. So if we approach a painting technique that creates this contrast, you can kind of cheat the NMM look. To keep the approach simple, we will start dark and work up the light to the brightest point. In this particular guide, we're going to be painting a burnished gold armor. The paints I use are not necessary to make this effect, and you can use any equivalents from a variety of ranges, and experimentation is encouraged as you can create your own unique NMM recipes. As I had said, we are going to start with going from dark to light, so rather than preparing the model with a zenithal primer, we're going with a straight matte black finish. I used Vallejo Surface Primer Black for this. With the model primed and the paint dry, it was time to put the first layer in place for the gold. I used a 50-50 mix of Vallejo Model Color Black and Leather Brown. This made a very dark brown that I could layer across most of the metallic surface that I wanted to paint, but leaving just some of the black primer visible in the deepest recesses. These will help define differing surfaces, and with black kept on the model, we will be keeping a high contrast for later. Next, I used Leather Brown by itself to layer over the darker brown that we painted previously. Again, I made sure to leave some of the darker brown visible to allow for a smooth transition down to the black. To make sure that transitions are made smoother, it's important to mix paints so that elements of the paints that we are building are found in one another. This helps prevent two pigments that are too contrasting from appearing too separate from one another. With this in mind, I mixed Leather Brown with Vallejo Model Color Orange Red. The orange red is what is going to help create the more intense, warmer quality of a burnished gold. And just as before, I'm layering in this lighter mix over the previous layers, but reducing the area that is painted to keep the transition of light visible. With the mix layer down, we then moved up to just using orange red. Still layer this into large areas of the metallic surfaces, but also take care to stay within the previous layer. At this stage, the paint scheme is not taking on a metallic quality yet and may look like a poor paint job, but do not worry. The metallic effect will only come once the very lighter paints have been applied. This can sometimes be the most discouraging part to trying to paint NMM, as you will not know if it is really working until the last steps. We are now going to start thinking more carefully about where the light is going to be reflected on the metal, and along with that we will start to see the metallic properties of the painting technique become more apparent. Again, we make a 50-50 mix, but this time with orange red and extra opaque game color heavy gold brown. I'm now thinking of where I want the reflections to shine the most and painting the surfaces with this in mind. We are now reducing the surface area painted, and we are able to see transitions going all the way down to the brown and black. This layer has now acted as our sketch for how the light will react to the metal surfaces. This is the time to check you are happy with how it's looking, and if you think something looks out of place, it's a good time to make corrections. However, once you're happy, we will use heavy gold brown to continue highlighting the surfaces. The next paint to use is the last, and that is Vallejo Model Color Ivory. Now, Ivory is very light, so we don't want to mix too much right away, otherwise our transition from the heavy gold brown to the ivory will be too sudden. Therefore, I made a 75-25 heavy gold brown to ivory mix and highlighted a small area of each metallic surface, creating a very high shine of light. It's now easy to see where the light is hitting the metallic surfaces. The final touch is to make a 50-50 mix of heavy gold brown and ivory, and then mark small points of light where the light hits the surface of the metal. Any sharp edges of the metal are also going to catch the light very easily, so doing edge highlights with the lighter mixes of paint will make the metal surfaces even more defined and sell the effect even more. Once the metal surfaces are complete, you can then go about painting the rest of the model armor with the same approach and add all the other beautiful details. If you found this video at all useful, please consider liking, commenting and subscribing, as your support is what makes this channel succeed. If you want to hang out and ask questions or just hobby together, I regularly stream on Twitch, and we have a Discord where I and my viewers share our hobby work and experience. Thank you always, and see you in the next video.